to cross over to London because we do have a guest to speak to us on Iran, Ellie Geranmayeh. She's a senior policy fellow on the European Council on Foreign Relations. So as I'm saying, she's joining us from London. There she is. Ellie, good to have you with us on the news grid. Can I just first get your reaction to what you think Rafsanjani's legacy is going to be inside the country, inside Iran, effectively?
Well, he's leaving behind quite a mixed legacy there. He's got a huge past, 4 decades really in the making of the political framework of the Islamic Republic of Iran, predating even the Islamic Revolution in 1979. He served as 2-term presidents. He served on several high official bodies even till his last day in Iran. And he has also, in the last decade, been associated as one of the real backers of the centrist moderates reformist movement that came to light with President Rouhani's election in 2013. But he certainly has a sordid mixed history in Iran domestically. He also has a legacy on the foreign policy issues as well. He was involved in a number of important foreign policy issues such as the Iran-Iraq war. He was de facto commander-in-chief of that war and pushed really in the final years of that war for a UN Security Council resolution agreement that halted the war with Saddam Hussein at the time. And he was also an adamant backer.
Just back to the issue for a second of the reformist movement that you were bringing up. What impact will his death have on that reformist movement in Iran, especially considering that Iran is going through elections this year?
Sure. I mean, he wasn't, as perhaps some people may refer, he was by no means the leader of the reformist movements. The reformist movements have a much more different cast of leaders. But in the last 10 years, it's without doubt that he was instrumental in the background for that reformist movement to push through politically some difficult power brokering in the background between the various political factions of Iran, which included an interest and a stake for the reformists. However, going forward, someone will have to fill his shoes, in particularly on that heavyweight power brokering role. And it's not clear who that's going to be. For now, most people are looking at the current President Rouhani to fill his shoes, but it's unclear whether he carries the same gravitas as Rafsanjani did within the political establishment of the Islamic Republic.
That's exactly my next question to you, because Rafsanjani was a backer and supporter of Rouhani. So do you think that Rouhani will still be able to manage to gather the sort of same level of support?
Well, look, the elections are in May. Notoriously in Iranian presidential elections, they don't really heat up until about 2 months before. We're not exactly sure who the main contenders are. And right now, as it stands, the opposition bloc for Rouhani hasn't really floored a candidate that can seriously challenge the president per se. But with Rafsanjani gone, you know, Rouhani may face some difficulties in coalescing and mobilizing support for himself, but most people don't really see a big contender challenge for this May's elections. What Rafsanjani's legacy and real power vacuum that is left behind now is the succession issue, potentially, for the next supreme leader of Iran, which he would have had a huge role to play in had he been around.
And just to put this comment to you, we have a comment coming in on Facebook. Mohammad Akhtar saying the former president was a tremendous political person. This is very sad and painful news for Iran's people, a sentiment that we gather is being shared by people in Iran. But you're speaking to us from London, so let me ask you about what you think his legacy is outside of the country.
So Rafsanjani, again, he was associated in the West particularly, and also within the GCC states, as a pragmatic leadership figure within the Islamic Republic. During his 2 terms as president, he was pushing for an economic opening for Iran as a way to creating a more powerful nation state for the Islamic Republic. he was very much open to engagement with the West, which, by the way, also included the United States, which was a very precarious move to have made at the time. Again, also with the Arab leaders in the GCC states, he had a very good relationship during his term as president and thereafter. So the messaging that's being, sent really from outside of the country is one of loss of a realpolitik, a realistic, a pragmatic leadership figure. And actually, what was surprising was that the State Department, the U.S. State Department, for the first time since most people can remember, since the 1979 revolution, has passed condolences to the family of Rafsanjani as a leader who's passed away within the Islamic Republic.
Right. Okay. Ellie Geranmayeh, we thank you for speaking to us from London. Well, still ahead right here on the News Grid.